Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation's LNTV. I'm your host Mark Angelides, and today to unravel the sticky mess that is the Jeffrey Epstein fallout, we're joined by Liberty Nation's Legal Affairs Editor, Mr. Scott D. Cosenza. Welcome, Scott.
Cheers, Mark.
Scott, there's been some big news in the Alan Dershowitz case regarding Jeffrey Epstein. What's at issue here?
So this is the case where Jeffrey Epstein's chief accuser, Virginia Giuffre, I believe is her name, has sued Alan Dershowitz for defamation. And she alleges that when Dershowitz has called her a liar, that he has defamed her. Now, the news is that Dershowitz was successfully able to get her lawyers kicked off the case, namely David Boyce, who is a rock star sort of Democrat, big-time lawyer. He was the lawyer in he represented Al Gore in the Bush v. Gore litigation, and he also is one of the lead counsels on the California gay marriage case that became the national gay marriage case, the Obergefell case. So he's a big-time lawyer, and he got kicked off the case by Dershowitz this past week.
On what grounds did he get kicked off the case?
He got kicked off on the grounds that he's going to be called as a witness, and other members of his law firm may be called as witnesses in the case. You see, Alan Dershowitz alleges that David Boyce has kind of manufactured part of this litigation in order to smear him in a way, and that he will be called as a witness to account for those allegations, that Dershowitz has sort of met the burden by the court, that he will be able to call Mr. Boyce and other members of his firm as witnesses. And because they are potential witnesses in the case, they can't be lawyers in the case as well.
Okay, I mean, how is he able to do that?
Well, it's because of his substantiated allegations that Boyce, in fact, kind of engineered her testimony. So you can't just come to court with sort of wild theories and say, gee, I wish they didn't hire that lawyer because he's really good, so let's get him kicked off the case. That wouldn't work. But Dershowitz himself was at one time represented by this law firm, and he alleges that, in fact, one of the only reasons why some of the complaints that she has made were made for the purpose of smearing him. So there's a rule in the United States legal system, Mark, where if you said some untrue and nefarious fact about me, I could sue you for libel. If you did that right now, if you said, Scott tortures small animals and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's not true. And because it's not true, and because it's a sort of heinous act, I could sue you for defamation. But okay, if you just sued me, if you said, I went to visit Scott for one weekend and he did nothing but torture animals that whole weekend, and left me with damages because of that, I may lose or win that case, but I can't sue you for defamation because what you allege in court pleadings are not statements that are subject to libel or defamation law. Basically, Ms. Giuffre alleges that Mr. Epstein handed her to Alan Dershowitz like, oh, hey, just go ahead and have sex with this person as like a party favor or something like that without so much as a by your leave. And Epstein, or rather, Dershowitz denies, and this is not some sort of Clintonian denial. He fully denies any involvement sexually with her in any way, shape, or manner, and alleges that her statement is the one that's defamatory. But here's the wrinkle: because she didn't make that statement on MSNBC or in a published piece, but instead made that in court pleadings, he can't sue her for defamation because of that.
Okay, so I mean, what's next for Giuffre and David Boyce?
Indeed. Well, what's next is that the court has ruled that I think they have 30 days to get their act together with new lawyers and go ahead and basically reestablish the case. We'll be watching it keenly, but I think that this is perhaps, Mark, the first instance where Virginia Giuffre's credibility as Jeffrey Epstein's chief accuser may see some serious questions of credibility thrown into the mix. Every other portrayal of Ms. Giuffre has seen her as the victim survivor of Mr. Epstein's predation. But Mr. Dershowitz's story runs just directly counter to that and says that she is in fact a predator in league with her lawyer David Boyce. Now she will be without Boyce, but we'll see where the litigation leads us.
And just a final speculation here, Scott. If she wins the defamation case, what happens?
Well, she'll have to. The damages will have to be proved, and absent some win on appeal, Alan Dershowitz is going to have to write her a big check.
False charge.
Scott DeCosenza, thank you very much for the input.
Thank you.
And thank you to you at home for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this. If you've learned a little something, if you found it interesting, you can press like or subscribe down below. Or even better, you can head straight over to libertynation.com, where we've got articles, podcasts, radio shows, the whole works. We hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon.